Hey, Sunshines, welcome to week 3, and let's just jump into it. So, week 3 on my whole year of something, I'm going with Sunshine for now, but we'll see if I can come up with anything better, or if you have any suggestions, please put them in the comments. Um, so, this kind of year of like change and growth and all of that stuff. Week 3 was supposed to be all about anger and empathy. And for the most part, the reasoning behind it was growing up, my dad was really empathetic and really like he wanted to help people. He wanted to help people less fortunate and really kind of instilled that in me. As he got older, and specifically kind of towards the end, he lost some of that and he started seeing like his lot in life was like the worst, even though it, I mean obviously it wasn't. um so it became kind of difficult for me to deal with because he kept talking about how, all these things were happening to him and it's not fair. And sometimes it's just like unfair things happen to everybody. And I was having a real hard time kind of being okay with that, like with what he was saying, because I felt like he was overlooking like all of his blessings, for lack of a better term. So I wanted to spend this week trying to learn how to empathize with people that I don't agree with and kind of work from there. I kind of made an interesting finding while doing this. It's been my most interesting week yet. It's a little hard because it's kind of an amorphous thing, like how do you empathize with somebody? I think I might have started it with a kind of the wrong idea. So I looked up the actual definition of empathy, which is empathy, noun, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Now, I think that I'm actually pretty good at this in a lot of ways. Like I can get into somebody's head and sort of see things from their perspective, even if it's not my perspective. I used to do really well with this when dealing with like characters in books and stuff. I think what I was thinking was more like, almost more like forgiveness, like not just empathizing with the person that, you don't agree with, but actually like, I don't know, maybe acceptance is a better word for it, like accepting their position, even if you think it's bad or harmful. I feel like I might have set myself an impossible task with this week. So I'm not sure. I know I'm supposed to be encouraging you to like do these along with me. This week was hard. It was kind of weird. So I'm going to do my best to kind of give you like what happened and, think for yourself about what you want to do. You can always do another week of forgiveness. Forgiveness is always good. And I have been continuing that along with empathy this week. So the first thing that happened to me this week, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious, was I was watching this very liberal news channel. I'm very liberal, and, I agree with, I don't know, maybe like 90% of what they think. I actually think they're right about a lot of things that are going on in like culture and with, taking away people's rights and all sorts of stuff. I basically agree with them. I think sometimes their methods are a little bit bad. And I think they miss a big point. But like, this is, they have a YouTube channel. I interacted with them on Instagram. They have like, I mean, they have millions of followers, and, you know, they've been around for a long time. And so they were talking about something that happened. And, you know, I brought up their hypocrisy because, in my view, and I don't want to get into the whole thing because it's politics and it's actually fairly complex, but in my view, they said something, you know, before the elections that went one way, and then they're saying something now that's the opposite. And I pointed it out. Like, you know, you're calling for this, but then, you know, you kind of did something to make it impossible. So I called them out, and I didn't really expect a response. I mean, I'm sure they get millions of messages. So I was going onto Instagram and I wanted to kind of check and see if I got a response from them. And my original message was gone. And I'm like, how is it gone? I actually didn't even know this would happen. Turns out they blocked me. I couldn't get to their account or see anything. And I'm like, you are a giant organization and one person criticizes you. A criticism that is valid. Like, it's not like I'm calling them Nazis or something, you know, like it's a good faith criticism. And they blocked me. And I'm like, you call out Republicans mostly and like Fox News for being snowflakes, but you can't take one bit of criticism either. Like, that's hypocrisy, and I hate hypocrisy. So it kind of started my week off with empathizing like difficult. And long story, slightly less long, what I realized is I can, like, I have a much harder time accepting or forgiving someone that I feel like should know better and also has no remorse. I used to watch like MSNBC. I used to watch Lockup, and I mean, they're interviewing prisoners, and there's some sketchy stuff behind the scene there that you can almost pick out if you're watching the show, and like you notice what they don't ask, and you know, certain things that are clearly cut. But I used to watch it, and I found myself often empathizing with people who did horrible things. And usually that's because of the circumstances they were brought up with, the reasons they did them, and then what they've learned since. And to me, that's kind of taking the whole picture into, like, focusing on the whole picture. It's not just the bad act, but it's everything that got you there and everything you do after it. It's one of the reasons I really am against the death penalty. People change and learn and they can teach others, and I think it's a waste, you know, just killing somebody because they did something wrong, like 99.99% of the time. So, and since they make mistakes, I think you can't risk it. You know, like if 4% of people who are on death row or have been killed were in fact innocent, you can't take that back. So I think, you know, there shouldn't be a death penalty. Sorry, this week has gotten very political. It's not normally what I'm going for, but that's just what it is. So I found that it was really hard for me to empathize with somebody who should know better and yet, you know, doesn't seem to care, or is fully willing to call out things in others but not willing to take a look at themselves. And I realized that that was probably where I had the hardest time with my dad, because he was very willing to call out the hypocrisy of people he didn't like, but he wasn't willing to call out the hypocrisy for people that he did like. So it made my week sort of difficult trying to sort of wrap my head around like where I want to fall on this. I think in the end, I don't think I'm necessarily wrong for being less sympathetic to people who should know better and who have had better opportunities. But I think that when a lot of things go wrong and like in your life and you don't exactly know why, I think it's easy to start blaming other people and thinking other people have it easier than you. So I think if I want to relate this back to my father and our relationship, my goal or my struggle is more going to be with keeping my empathy and sort of sympathy and forgiveness of people going, even when really terrible things are happening. And I think some really terrible things are happening right now. And keeping that mindset of things can change for the better and it's not like all bad, there's hope. I think that's what's going to be my struggle going forward. So if you want to take this week and kind of think about empathy, you can head over to the Patreon. I'll have a blog post there. There's a free downloadable weekly planner, and then for those of you who want to become patrons, you actually will get the filled in planner with the things I'm doing this week, along with the filled in monthly planner. So that's available. And let's see, my favorite things. So this week, some of my favorite things have been one of my favorite YouTubers. He is actually, I guess, a TikToker, but I'm old. See, I don't think of myself as old, but in terms of social media, I'm like 1,000. So I'm not really on TikTok that much. So he came from TikTok, but he was doing YouTube. Casual Geographic is what he goes by. And he actually wrote a book, and it's, I think, 100 animals that can seriously F you up. Something like that. Check out I'll put his YouTube in the description as well as his book. And I've been listening to that, and it's so entertaining. I actually have it on Audible, but I bought the book, which should be in on Sunday. So I'm really excited seeing like the pictures and kind of some of it, because I guess some of it is more visual. But he reads the book. He's really great. He has like a ton of animal knowledge, and he's very charming, and I like him. He's a great YouTuber, TikToker, writer, and I think his book should do really well. It was actually trending on Amazon, so I'm guessing he's doing pretty well for himself, and that's awesome. The second thing that I've really been enjoying this week, and it has been a theme lately, but I'm loving my fountain pen inks. It was like, okay, so I used to write with like regular ballpoint pens, blue and black. And then when I was a kid, they started coming out with like different colors. Like you could get pink, or you could get this like kind of light teal blue, or maybe green, and obviously red, because teachers use those. And I was like, ooh, I can write with those pens. And I didn't get into gel pens for a really long time because I felt like they smudged a lot, which they kind of do. And they weren't great. But then they started coming out with some like gel ballpoint hybrids, and I started getting into those and all these colors, and it's like, oh my God. When I discovered fountain pens, like fountain pens that don't just have like a black ink cartridge, but like inks you can fill yourself, a world has opened up to me. And the ink is so interesting in the way that it writes and dries, and I love it. I just think it is so, so cool. And there's all different types. There's like, I'm sure there are 1,000 brands, and I'm only just starting to discover them. But I will give you a couple of my current favorites. One is called Dominant Ink. I guess the ink is out of, I think, Korea. You can find it on Jet Pens, who I mentioned before, and some other websites. I really like them, and then I really like, I don't know if I'm going to butcher the name, but it's like Wearing Ul. It's like Wearing and then EUL. They have a Wizard of Oz collection. They have an Alice in Wonderland collection, and then they have a bunch of. They might also be a Korean ink brand. There are other places that inks are from. Actually, there's one brand that comes from Massachusetts, where I live. So you can find them from anywhere. But I happen to like those two the best at the moment. And yeah, they have all sorts of different colors. I like ones with like shimmer and sheen, and yeah, shimmer, sheen, they're different things. There's a lot going on with ink that I don't know about, and I am just finding out like as I kind of do these different things, different papers, and all sorts of fun stuff, which I'm sure you'll be hearing about in my favorite things. So, I have one other thing, which I'm just going to say, because this week was so challenging, I did a lot of journaling. I also found that super helpful this week, and I think it can be whenever you're going through, a thing. So, anyway, thank you for making it through this long video. I really appreciate you. If you don't mind, if you liked this, please like, subscribe, all the fun stuff, comment. Please, if you can come up with a better name than A Year of Sunshine, I would really appreciate it. And that's about it. Here's sunshine.
Thanks.